He says, Punyanche puriso kaira, kairate tang punappunam, tamhi chandang kairatha, sukho punyassa uchchayo. Very simple sayings, but very meaningful to all of us. The meaning is, Punyanche puriso kaira. Whenever opportunities are there, don't forget to create some good karma. Punya means good karma. Don't forget to create some good karmas whenever opportunities are there. Again he says, Kairate tang punappunam. Punappunam means again and again. Once or twice or few times are not enough. Punappunam. Do some meritorious deeds again and again. Tamhi chandang kairatha. You have to develop that understanding in your mind. The punya or the merits or the good karmas are very, very important for our life. Therefore, we must have some sort of understanding. Sukho punyassa uchchayo. Those who have accumulated more and more good karma, sukho, sukha, their life become very meaningful, very peaceful, very pleasurable, and very happy life. This simple advice is very important for us. We do not know how we exist. We do not know why some people are very miserable, some people are very pleasurable and contented and satisfied with their life. What is the secret behind? There is nobody else behind or in front to adjust, to arrange, to create these differences. But by our own action, good action and bad action, good deeds and bad deeds, good karma or bad karma. These karmic actions are responsible for the movement of our life. Every hour, every day, every year, we are going on spending either good merit or the demerits we have created during our lifetime. Within this lifetime, if not during one of our previous births. The karma that we accumulate never disappear. All these good and bad karmas follow us, just like our shadow. Wherever we go, shadow also follow us, never stop. So exactly in the same manner, all our good and bad karmas that we have committed, we have performed during our previous birth, not only one particular previous birth, many of our previous births, because they are in the waiting list. When certain karmas are very strong, then they come first. They affect first. Then all the others remain behind. Either they are good one or bad one. Then this particular karma dominate, guide. Later, when that particular karma is fading away by spending, reduce the energy of that particular karma. Then another karma come and occupy it. That is how we continue our journey. We are more or less pilgrims. This is a pilgrimage. We stop here for a certain period. We want to rest. During that time, we also accumulate either good karma or bad karma. Then on the way, we sprint all these karmas for us to lead either pleasant or unpleasant life. So the life becomes miserable through the influence of bad karma that we have done. Life becomes very meaningful and very pleasant through the influence of the good karma that we have done. These karmas have no religion. They are not belong to any religion. Whether we believe or not, every action creates a reaction. This is the scientific interpretation. Action and reaction, these two things are natural. There is no God behind. There is no devil behind. Karmic energy itself creates the effect. For example, now this is a gadget that we use by electricity. If there is a current shortage, leakage here, the one who knows that advise us not to touch this one. But I don't care. I don't listen to that advice. Then I touch this one. After that, I get the electric shock. Action and reaction. Touching this is the action. Electric shock is the reaction, the effect. So there is no God in between this action and reaction. So the God or devil has nothing to do with this. My own action created either good effect or the bad effect. So understanding people who knows the effect of this action advise us not to do certain things and to do certain things according to their own experience. When we refer to the Buddha, what he has said? He said, I am not giving any message given to me by God or anybody. I am not telling you certain theories or philosophy or metaphysical imagination, but I am telling you everything according to my own experience. Now, which is more reliable? One person come and tell, oh, this message is given to me by the God, and he tell others. Another person come and tell, I am telling you all these things according to my own experience. Which is more reliable? Then the Buddha said, I advise you not to do certain things. Why? Because I have done all these bad things during my so many previous births. So I can understand how I had to suffer because of committing those bad things, evil deeds. That is why I am also telling you, according to my own experience, not to do. If you do that, you also can experience the bad effect. Again he says, I advise you to do certain things, because these things I have done during so many previous births. I can remember what sort of pleasant, meaningful, prosperous, happy, contented, peaceful life I had because of all these good activities. So according to my experience, I am giving this advice. This is the nature of the Buddha's teaching. It is not a message given by the God, commandment or restrictions or religious laws. You cannot find any religious laws in the teachings of the Buddha. All these are advices given by the Buddha according to his own experience. So, this advice he gives for all of us to understand how to lead our life. So if you don't like to suffer, if you don't like to have miserable life, unfortunate life, then we had to prepare that through this understanding, not by praying or worshipping to the Buddha or God or anybody in this world, according to our own action. So, we are responsible for our own life. Nobody else is responsible. We cannot blame God or devils or anybody. When the bad effect comes to us, we blame others, accuse others. But we never think that these are the bad effects of the bad deeds that we have done earlier. Again, when you see the world, we can understand how certain peoples are leading very unfortunate, miserable life. Some others are really enjoying their life. Then who is responsible for that? Nobody else. Their own action. Those who have done good actions, good karma, they are experiencing very peaceful, happy life. Those who have done bad, wicked, cruel, dangerous things, they are experiencing very unfortunate, miserable life. This is what the Buddha wanted to tell us. So, Punyanche Puriso Kaira. So whenever opportunities are available, don't forget to do some meritorious deeds. To do some meritorious deed, it is not necessary for you to spend anything. Not necessary to work very hard. Just by keeping quiet, without spending anything, you can create a lot of good karmas. You do not know that. Take for instance, somebody come and scold you by using all the vulgar, wicked, dirty words. You listen very carefully, even without showing your sour face. You listen mindfully. You never create, you never harbor anger, grudge, ill will, hatred toward this man who come and scold you. You think this person is a stupid man. He is shouting for nothing. He never gained by shouting anything. He cannot provoke me. He cannot irritate me. He cannot create anger in my mind. By shouting, what he expects is for me to get angry. But I never get angry. I have pity on him because of his stupidity. He is shouting here for nothing. I develop my kindness. I practice patience without creating any evil thoughts in my mind. Patience and tolerance and understanding. And that man who shouted at you could not gain anything from you, no reaction, he stopped. And in the end, who win the battle? Whether the man who scolded you or you win the battle. He could not provoke you, disturb you. but you maintain compassion, patience, tolerance. By maintaining that mental attitude at that time, you have created a lot of good karma. You never think in that way. Without spending anything, without doing anything. Just you practice only tolerance and patience and understanding. These three good qualities you cultivated in your mind. So people think that they had to spend a lot. They had to work very hard to create good karma. No. The more you extend your kindness and compassion and sympathy towards others, you create a lot of good karmas. The more you develop your anger, jealousy, grudge and enmity and ill will towards others, you create a lot of bad karmas. Because you pollute your mind. When you develop kindness, compassion, understanding in your mind, you purify the mind. These things become good karmas and the negative aspect become the bad karma. So, kairathetang punah punam, again and again, we had to accumulate good karmas. The reason is, within one lifetime, from our birth up to the death, amount of good karma or bad karma that we spent, that we experience, we cannot imagine. For our survival, for our living, for our pleasure, we spend our good karmas. Otherwise we cannot survive. Without karma, we cannot survive. We cannot exist. To exist, we have to spend karma. Certain babies, even before they come to this world, die in the mother's womb. Certain babies, few days after giving birth, die. If not when they are very young, they die. What is the cause? So when this question was put to the Buddha, he gave the answer. The question was, why some people die very early? Why some people get the chance to stay up to maximum lifespan? Who is responsible for that? The answer given by the Buddha is this. Those who have destroyed others' life during their previous birth, if they had the opportunity to be born as human beings, they have no chance to survive, to continue that human life because of the bad karma that person has committed during the previous birth. Those karmas come and topple. So they had to die earlier. Nobody else is responsible. And those who had to live up to the maximum level, say 90 to 100 years, they have not committed such bad karmas and they have supported to save others' life. Because of the grace of this merit, they get the chance to lead their life up to the maximum level. That is why here the Buddha says, karmas are important for our living, for our pleasure, for our worldly life. How many people here in this world get the chance to lead a peaceful, happy, contented, satisfied life? Almost every day, they are going on complaining, blaming, accusing about their problems. Family problems, marriage problems, children's problem, husband's problem, wife's problem, property problems, physical problems, mental problems. The whole life is nothing but problems. But we can minimize, we can reduce many of these problems by using the good karma that we have accumulated, that we have done. That is why some people are miserable, some people are pleasurable, due to good karma and bad karma. Now we can understand why the Buddha advised us to do more and more good karmas. Again, the meaning of doing or performing good karmas, not limited only for worshipping or praying and offerings or chanting or recitals or giving dana. There are many ways we can perform meritorious deeds. Those who are sick, we attend to them, we provide medicines, requisite, food. Those who are very old, we attend to them, we provide what they need. Those who are very poor, we provide them food and clothing and medicines. And those who are in fear, day and night, they are in fear. So we go and give them moral support for them to get rid of their fear. And those who are scared of death are suffering day and night. Then we go and give them moral support and make them to understand the nature of life and to get rid of the fear that they have. And those who are facing so many external disturbances, we give them our helping hand for them to get rid of their problems. All these are meritorious deeds. So the temple is not the only place where you can perform meritorious deeds. Wherever you stay, wherever you go, there are so many things that you can perform as meritorious deeds. Take for instance, when you walk, a blind man who wants to cross the road, he is in fear, he does not know how to cross. You go and give your helping hand for this blind man to cross the road. And very old man or old lady who cannot walk properly, you go and help that old lady or old man to walk or to cross, to get into the bus. If not, when that old man, old lady is standing in the bus, you get up and ask that person to sit down. All these are meritorious deeds. People never take these things so seriously. So, when there were 60 Arhantas as first disciples, the advice given by the Buddha to these disciples, Charata bhikkhave charikan bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya, lokanukampaya, attaya hitaya. He advised those disciples, the monks, go out, go and work for the happiness of others. Go and work for the peace of others. Go and work to tell others what is right and what is wrong. Because many people are in the dark. So go and work for the benefit of others. This is the service that the Buddha wanted us to do. Not to perform all these rites and rituals and ceremonies and always praying, worshipping and this and that. But we can do better service, better religious service by doing some service to others. Then another saying, Paratha charyaya satanghi jivana. What is the purpose of our living in this world? To enjoy, to eat. All these things later become nuisance, create frustration, never gives happiness. But Paratthacharya, the main purpose of our living is to do some service to others. By serving others, we serve ourselves. Without serving others, my dear friend, we cannot serve ourselves. If you enjoy yourself, spending any amount of money, in every possible way you enjoy your life, you think you enjoy, but you never do any service for your benefit. But when you come and do some service to another person who is in trouble, who needs your service, then you serve yourself. How? To serve others, you have to reduce your anger, your jealousy, your grudge, your ill will, your enmity, your ignorance, your selfishness. All these things you have to reduce. Otherwise you cannot serve others. Again, you cultivate so many good things. To serve others, you develop your kindness, your compassion, your sympathy, your understanding, your unity, you develop. Then you serve yourself. You cultivate your own life. Without serving others, you cannot cultivate your own life. The Buddha, how did he gain his enlightenment? Many people cannot understand. People say there must be a divine message. The Buddha says, I never get any message from anybody. Name acharyo atti. He said, I never had any teacher to tell me how to become the Buddha. Then he explained how he gained. By doing sacrifices for the benefit of others. He has given up his kingdom, he has given up his worldly pleasures, he has given up his property for the benefit of others, he has given blood, eyes, skins, hair from his body for the benefit of others. He reduced craving, attachment, jealousy, hatred. Life after life he went on developing. Then he gained enlightenment. Few weeks ago we had a religious forum at the University of Malaya. 4 speakers from 4 religions on organ donations organized by the National Kidney Foundation. All the other religions speakers, they say, well, according to their religion, there is no objection. It is permissible. That's all. In my talk, I mentioned, all these religious people say, according to their religion, it is possible, not impossible. I say it is not enough. In every mosque, every church, every temple, they must announce, inform their members and devotees, encourage them, enlighten them to donate something for the benefit of others. Simply by saying there is no objection doesn't do any service. Then I told them, why? Only Sri Lanka donate eyes. So far, 35,000 cornea eyes donated to Malaysia from Sri Lanka. There is no another country where you can get eyes. And that country, every day, at least 3 or 4 eyes sent to various other countries, 39 countries, every day. Why? It is a Buddhist country. Because the Buddha said, I gain my enlightenment by sacrificing, donating even my body. They follow this. But the Buddhists even in other parts of the world still have not opened their eyes to understand this. Even here in this country, we are trying our best to educate people, but still they are scared. The reason is, whatever religion they practice and superstitious belief occupy the mind earlier, then the religion comes to that mind. Whether they are Buddhist or Christian, Hindus, Muslim, makes no difference. All of them have ignorance and superstitious belief. I mentioned this in my talk. All of us are ignorant. All of us have superstitious ideas. Whatever religion we believe, unless and until we get rid of these two weaknesses, we cannot make use of our religious knowledge properly. These are our weaknesses. Here you can understand who the Buddha is, what he has done to become the Buddha, and how he advised others to follow him, not by worshipping and offerings and chanting him. He said, go and do some service to others. Then, when he was about to die, so many people came with flowers to offer him, to pay last respect to him. Ananda, his disciple, reported, so many people are waiting there outside. I told them, please don't come and disturb the Buddha till the last moment. Then the Buddha said, you must go and tell them, if they really want to respect their master, they must go and do some service to others. They must go and practice one of the advices given by the master, not simply by offering flowers and worshipping. Go and tell them. You can understand who the Buddha is. What he wanted. By introducing Buddhism, he did not depend on our worshipping and praying and offering. What he wanted for us to do some service to others, to be kind, to be honest, to be sincere, do some service to others. Here, all these things we introduce as meritorious deeds. That is why here they will say, do some service, do some meritorious deeds. Whenever opportunities are there, they support you to lead, to carry on your life without so many troubles and problems and difficulties and sicknesses. The merits, the karma support you.